All right, Stochastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Sunday morning here. We've got some baseball going on. The last Sunday baseball show because next week, week one NFL. You guys know what that means. Non-stop DFS NFL talk starts tomorrow. It's going to be a fun one. We've got a couple deals here we'll talk about for some of the NFL content, but we've got 10 games here. Tiny bit of weather. We've got, let me see here, New York. The Yankees are hosting St. Louis. There is a little bit of rain chance or a chance of an in-game delay. Same thing going for Washington. And then tonight, new development. It wasn't there like that this morning, but it looks like there could be rain in the area for Philadelphia Sunday Night Baseball. I do call that out because that is on the main slate for Yahoo, which is going with the three games at 4 o'clock and then that game. We'll talk a little late game action as well here. Matt, how did you do yesterday? And what about that inside the park home run by Corbin Carroll there?
It was pretty sweet. Saw it live. I did not do well. I mean, you needed Toronto to really do anything, and they weren't even on for me playing minimal lineups, not a team that I was even thinking about.
That was do you want to see a dead body?
Yeah, exactly. Saw Steve Buzzard, I think, used them in the 250 and took it down like pretty easily. They went just insane. Stuff like that happens a few times a year with just random teams, or more than a few times a year. But like that, you usually don't get it on that level where they're just, 1 through 9 breaking the slate. It's just what combination of Blue Jays did you have? So no, I did not do well last night. I had one lineup creep, but nothing special. Kikuchi was amazing. So it's one of those nights where I kind of got everything wrong, and I'd rather have it that way.
Yeah, it was. I hit my article did quite well. I was didn't do well on Yahoo. Survived on DraftKings. Was having a nice moment on the late slate for college football. I was third in the mini max, and I had 3 players going for Kentucky, and they had a 2-hour lightning delay, and then they called the game with like 8 minutes left or something like that. I was in bed when that finally happened. I did not see the University of Washington Huskies play last night. So for those of you that bet that I would not be able to view my alma mater kicking off at 11 p.m., you are correct. And for those that said, hey, EMac looks like you just rolled out of bed, I've already walked 5 miles, written a 2,000-word article, counseled my wife who is out buying a car right now, talked to my mom, and had breakfast. So yeah, it's been a busy day. I'm getting ready for that nap shortly after we go off air. That's what I'm looking forward to. The old guy Sunday nap for a 3-day weekend. It's going to be glorious. It's going to be glorious. Will you be entertaining your wife and daughter?
Well, my daughter probably going to be going down for a nap like right at the end of this show, which is
I like glorious. The way she thinks.
Yeah, that's absolutely glorious. But yeah, we will, when she wakes up, it will be family time on Sunday night. And then tomorrow, everyone will be home again. So a long weekend over here. And then Tuesday, back to school as normal for my daughter, and my wife works in the school. So can't wait.
All right. Well, let's dive in and have some fun here. We've got quite a bit to cover. The FanDuel slate is including Coors Field, so we'll kind of talk about that at the end as a bit of a standalone play. But let's look at our pitchers here. A couple good options at the top. You've got Mr. No-Hitter Dylan Cease. Gets a nice matchup against the Tampa Bay Rays. You also have Sean Manaea, who is striking everybody out like it's his job. 3 of his last 6 starts have been double-digit strikeouts. He gets to go against the Chicago White Sox. So those guys are vying up at the top here. What do you think for our Bucks Deluxe options?
So I think Cease is the top dog pretty clearly. I mean, the top pitcher tool says that. He's got a 30% chance of being a top 2 guy in this slate. Ownership is clearly there, so that would be the case to get away from him. But he's the best pitcher on the slate for DFS purposes, and he's in a really good matchup against Tampa. Now, his floor might be lower than it usually is because Tampa still doesn't have awful bats in the top of their lineup. They just strike out a ton. So I like Cease a lot. I'm playing him mostly because I just don't love the other options today. I'm not going to play Manaea personally. Again, only playing a few lineups. I think he looks really good. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, and the ownership is clearly there on him also. So Cease is separating from the pack as far as his top pitcher percentage goes. Manaea is slightly ahead of Bailey Ober. I'm going to take the ownership discount on Ober. I know he's a little bit more expensive, but not drastically. I still think Ober's the better pitcher despite recent form. I was on the Braves against Ober in his last start. I'm going to pivot back to Ober here, where he's not going to be popular at all. I know Toronto's been feisty recently. They've got some young hitters that haven't been striking out, but I still like Ober's ceiling in this spot, and he's just not going to get the ownership. So I do view those guys as pretty clearly the top three. In cash games, I think Cease and Manaea is the clear way to go. I'm going to pivot off Manaea and play Ober, knowing that, Manaea projects a little bit better and he's in a better spot, but I'm not treating Manaea like he's some ace like the field is. And I'm fairly confident that he's going to be much higher than the 33% in, the higher stakes single entry type stuff. How do you see it?
No, I will hit Manaea first. So I've been rostering him on and off the last few stretches, and he's had some good outings, which have been phenomenal, but he's also had a couple just nail biters where he barely escaped innings. He was pitching out of trouble. He had a meltdown in one of them. And so that was where, when I was looking at him this morning, it all becomes about the matchup. And I was kind of thinking, all right, he's in his age 32 season. I figured gamers are maybe they'll stay away from him just a little bit. He's allowed three earned runs in each of his last 4 starts. I had him in that Miami game, that Friday game about 8 starts ago. He allowed 5 earned runs. That was just very, very, very disappointing. The game prior to that against Colorado, that was the one where he pitched out of a couple jams, ended up with 9 strikeouts, only allowed 3 runs, but 2 of them were home runs. And he was in danger quite a few times in that game. But he's just looking pretty solid. His latest gauntlet of teams that he's faced has been Arizona, Baltimore, Seattle and Miami, but St. Louis is also is not bad. But so he's faced some good teams. He held Minnesota scoreless. That was one of his 11 strikeout games. So you're getting a mixed bag here. But this is all about the Chicago White Sox, who are just absolutely dreadful against lefties. They're dreadful against righties. It's aside from Andrew Vaughn, and I'm assuming let me get that lineup up here. I'm assuming Luis Robert is in it, but outside of those guys, there's nothing that's even remotely worrisome. You have Robert, who's not making contact and not getting power against lefties this year. That's a problem. So just this lineup is just awful. And then you got a couple inexperienced guys that don't get a lot of playing time, and Chucky Robinson, Jacob Amaya back down at the bottom. So it's all about that. But could Manaea implode? Yeah, but implode is more like 3 innings, 4 or 5 earned runs allowed. I don't think it's a full meltdown, but it's on the table. And that is the one concern there. So I like your call out of Ober. He's someone that we're trusting a lot. Earlier this season, you mentioned the poor form. I agree with that. Lindquist likes to talk about all, his fly ball issues, which he does have. Over the last 2 years, he's got about a 35% fly ball rate. That's a little bit risky because, those warning track outs that turn into home runs can be problematic. But aside from yesterday, the Toronto Blue Jays have not been phenomenal. They traded away and or moved on from quite a few key players from last year. Looking at this lineup, no Vladdy Daddy or Vladdy Jr. In the lineup. We'd probably rather have Vladdy Daddy in the lineup than a few of these guys, even in his current form. But yeah, this is not a great matchup. So I think you are correct in going the path less traveled, to borrow from Robert Frost.
Yeah, listen, the matchup's immaculate for Manaea. And I get it. Like, I think on paper he looks really good. I'm going to use a couple White Sox bats against him, though. I just think the ownership is going to be ridiculous, at least as high as Cease, in my opinion. Yeah. He's the cheapest of the guys that you want to roster, and he's been great, and it's the White Sox. So I'm expecting really, really high ownership on him. And if he beats me, he beats me. But I like Cease and Ober enough where I'm going to play them.
All right. I see in chat asking about the wind in Chicago. Demetrius Fowler is asking, it looks like it's 14 to 20 miles an hour out towards right field. I'm not going to be too particularly worried about that. Looks more of a crosswind than anything else, but I didn't really see that popping up in a lot of content today, so I don't think it's going to be as dramatic. And then we can always see by the run lines there with just 3.6 there for the White Sox, because remember the run lines are going to factor in weather and park factor and all that on that one. If we look to seats. So surprised that Yandy Diaz is in the lineup. I didn't think he would be in. He missed yesterday's game. I think it was with a sore ankle. Still, that doesn't do a whole lot for this lineup. I mean, he's a steady bat, but you're looking at Diaz, Josh Lowe, Brandon Lau, Camaneros in there. Caballero is batting towards the bottom. Just tons of strikeouts in this lineup. So that bodes well for Cease. Overall, if we look at, so over the last 30 days, Tampa has scored 92 runs. That's 3.41 per game. That's the third fewest in this time frame. They also have a 27% strikeout rate, which is the third highest behind. They're only 0.4% behind Seattle. So for perspective, we love going against the Mariners for those strikeouts. Yeah, Tampa Bay is rivaling them over the last month. So I think that is making this appealing here. Cease has since his no-hitter. So forgetting his no-hitter, he's in his last 28 innings. He's got a 3.9 ERA, 3.6 FIP, a 3.9 xFIP. He's got a 3.38 average on balls in play, batting average balls in play. So that's a little bit unlucky, but he's still striking out over 1 per inning. So great matchup for him. That's kind of your cash game guys are those, but I agree with the pivot over to over there. Then we get a bunch of question marks here. We get, hey, Alex Cobb, it's been a minute since we saw you. Game here. You've got, who is it? Walter Pennington is starting for Texas. The afternoon slate has a couple guys coming back that we haven't seen in a while, both new and both injuries. So and then a couple hitters are coming back or getting called up today as well. So it's like, what's old is new again. Oh my God, why is that happening? Well, remember, September 1st, they expand the rosters. Now, this isn't the gigantic rosters that they used to do. I think they expand it by 2 now. So they get up to 27 on their active roster, not the 40, where if you were in season-long leagues, you would get so mad because they wouldn't put people on the injured list because they didn't need to. That's rule changed about 5 years ago to just 1, but I think if I remember correctly, it's 2 this year, or maybe it was last year as well. So that's why you're seeing some of these people get called up or an extra pitcher here, especially as the minor league seasons are winding down. What else do you have after this top trio here?
So there's not much I like after this top trio. This is one of those days where I like playing a few lineups because I don't have to use any of these other guys. Like Cobb, I guess looks okay. I mean, his 8 point whatever expected ERA doesn't look good, but good spot for a win. You know, Pittsburgh's not a matchup we're scared of. I actually really thought about stacking Pittsburgh. But the Cleveland bullpen probably takes me off them, and I don't think Cobb's like awful. But I'm not going to use Cobb here. If I were playing 150, he'd be in the pool. I don't see a lot. Like Cortez, I could see playing Cortez. You know, weather looks like it's going to be fine there. It's not a good matchup. St. Louis isn't a scary offense, but they don't strike out a lot. They profile better against right-handed pitching or lefties, excuse me. Cortez is always better at home, and he's in good form right now. So I guess maybe Cortez. He would be the other guy. I like Ober and Cease more, but don't hate Cortez either.
He was the next guy I was kind of thinking, because when you get nasty Nestor Cortez, it's good times, right? Because he's got the varied release points that he uses that kind of can keep hitters off balance. So that is what helps him get his strikeouts, more deception than his actual stuff. He'd probably be number 4. I was trying to just make a case there for Mitchell Parker. I really can't. The more I looked at it, the less excited I was about it. Jordan Wicks, another one of those kind of unknowns going against the Nationals. You know, for as much as we talk shit about the Nationals, at least they still don't strike out a lot. They've got all their youngsters in the lineup today. You got Dylan Cruz leading off, Jose Tena, Andres Chaparro, James Wood, Juan Yepez, Jacob Young. This was basically their AAA team. But Jordan Wick's talent level is about that as well. So this is kind of a, could he get a quality start? Yeah. Could they get to him for 4 or 5 runs? Sure. Who's going to get those runs? I don't know, because it's hard to tell. So that's kind of gets me crossing those off. Mitch Keller feels like this is little bit of a lost season, shades of a lost season. He has been up and down. Don't want to go against your Guardians. Cooper Criswell. Do we get more than 5 innings from him today? Probably not. Maybe, if we're lucky. So then I'm on Ryan Pepio here, going against San Diego. So we get Tampa Bay ballpark. That's a bonus. We get the San Diego lineup, obviously not the same without Tatis, Juan Soto in a new uniform, etc. They have good hitters, but the lineup kind of falters there. You got a million-years-old David Peralta in there. Luis Campusano, we prefer him against lefties. Mason McCoy still figuring stuff out. Xander Bogaerts, he of the little power, decent contact. I'm okay with Pepio here. If you look at that implied run total of 3.7, that's a pretty nice amount of respect going both for Tropicana Field and Pepio. What do you think about Pepio? I just like saying Pepio. It's fun.
I don't mind him just because I think talent-wise he's good enough here. Like, I think his talent is, right in line with the top pitchers on the slate. It's a brutal matchup. San Diego's good and they don't strike out. It's a good park for pitching. We know that. I think he looks like right there with Cortez for me as like the guys after the top 3, and then a pretty big drop after that. Wouldn't fault you for playing Pepio here, or even having Pepio as like a core play for me, just on the outside looking in.
Then that leaves Ronel Blanco. Oh, we've got the 2 no-hitter guy, or 2 of the no-hitter guys on the mound today. So Ronel Blanco going against the Royals. You've got Alec Marsh on the other side. Not really excited about either one of those. Garrett Crochet. I forget, was it a weather thing in his last start that didn't he only go a few pitches? I can't even remember now. The season's all blending together at this point. In any event, we don't know how long he's going to pitch. Maybe 4, maybe 5 innings, 70 or so pitches would be my guess. At least his price has come down a little bit, but I don't think we have to get overly cute. And then Mitch Spence against Texas. That Texas implied run total is about a half a run higher than I thought it was going to be. I guess I was giving a little bit too much credit in the overnight look I was doing with Mitch Spence. But we've seen the various young Oakland pitchers have adequate starts. We've seen them melt down too. But that I thought was going to be a possibility. But that 4.8 implied run total there for Texas makes me a little less than enthused by that. So yeah, we're really down to 3.5 pitchers. No, I'll say 4.5. We'll count Pepio, Cease, Ober, and Manaea, and then the half is Cortez. Or maybe Cortez is 2/3 and Manaea is 2/3 because he's carrying so much popularity.
I mean, you think Manaea's got to be a guy here. Like, I'm not playing him, but that's not what I recommend people to do. I just, again, I think the field is acting like he is an ace here, and he's pitched like one recently, and the spot is so good. I'm just, again, at this ownership right now, I don't think playing him is a problem, but I personally think he's going to be a lot higher. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
All righty. So let's take a peek here because I want to mention a couple of fun things that we have. First, we have, of course, the primary sponsor of the show is DraftKings Pick6. So I want to call out it's their new game format. They are tweaking it. I believe someone told me, I can't play it in Florida, but I believe someone told me now that they are going to use more dynamic player props, still locking at the start of the contest, but before they were putting in static props. So that I think the Apex Predators were getting to him a little bit too much there because some people sort of, I don't want to say solved the game, but saw that there is a nice advantage if you're going to be a sharp player. But the key thing is if you use the promo code Lindy when you make your first Pick6 wager, when you sign up there to activate that, bet $5, you'll get $50 in Pick6 credits. So it is, you get to pick up to 6 props there. You get points for getting it correct. The props lock when the game locks, so you can still maneuver things around. You can kind of wait and see. You can play the weather game a little bit if you want, or worry about injuries. That's something that happens more for the basketball side of things. For baseball, a little less variability there, but it does give you flexibility to make changes up until the game's lock for the specific players. But that is one of the new game formats that is out there. And new game formats are always fun because it means people make mistakes. So if we can get the game theory down correctly, we can be an advantage player, as they say. We also have content and tools for the Pick6 contests on OddsShopper, which is good to know. The other thing you guys need to know, I'm going to say this a couple times throughout the show, you can get the access to all NFL Week 1 content here at Stokastic for $1. It is promo code KICKOFF. That is everything. That's the core package. It's the sims. It's the lineup generator. It's the single lineup sims. It is the top stacks tool. It is player projections. It's literally everything for $1. You don't want to try to time this. Oh, I'm going to wait and sign up. People are asking a good question. When can I sign up and try to get week 2? No, this is just week 1 content, but you get access to the entire site for $1. That is promo code KICKOFF. You're not going to find a better deal. And you wanted to kick the tires, check things out, this is the way to do it. Just $1, promo code KICKOFF. All right, Matt, we talked about the pitchers. Let's talk about the stacks. Have you seen the numbers that are being put up by the Yankees? It is nuts. Over the last 30 days, Austin Wells, 403 WOBA, 222 ISO, 80 plate appearances. Aaron Judge, 571 WOBA, 488 ISO, 103 plate appearances. Soto, 402 WOBA, 362 ISO, 113 plate appearances. Stanton rocking it. Chisholm rocking it. They should have, let's check the lineup. They should have Anthony Rizzo back. This is quite the lineup. Rizzo's missed a couple months there. He had a collision with a pitcher. Pitcher fell on his arm, injured his forearm, so he has missed about 2 months. He did make, I think it's 3, it might have been 4 rehab appearances. I think he got 11 or 13 at-bats. So they're bringing him up. He's going to be nestled in the bottom of the lineup there as he gets his sea legs back. But this is an amazing lineup. Miles Michaelis is just not all that anymore. Strikeouts, mostly non-existent for Michaelis. Did you know over his last 9 starts, he has more than 3 strikeouts once? Yikes. That doesn't have a ton of walks. Everything is in play with Michaelis. That's not something you want to do against the Yankees when there's a 9 to 12 mile an hour breeze out to left field, when it's 80 degrees and 60 to 70% humidity. The Yankees are kind of number 1. Do you see holes in that? At least they're a little bit expensive. That's the one.
A lot bit expensive. I don't see any holes in it. They almost look Coors-esque here in Yankee Stadium against Michaelis. They're just they're priced very high, especially the guys you want. I mean, Judge and Soto combined 13.6K. Wells is over 4K now. Stan's expensive. So you're really going to have to concede a lot elsewhere to get there, but I think it's viable. There's other stacks I like that aren't getting ownership, and the Yankees, especially the Aaron Judges, Juan Soto's of the world, will, but they won't be crazy highly owned because of their price tag. So I think they're the definite top stack, with other stacks also looking very good, though.
All right. Let me see here. I got a note from T. McBee yesterday about the Yankees. It says, he says, I feel like every day. Oh, we were talking Yankees, but then he said this comment about Ohtani. I'm going to say it anyway. He says, I feel like every day around 8 and 11 p.m., I get an Ohtani home run notification. Oh, I was giving him guff about Mr. Allrise. 51 home runs for Judge. That's just phenomenal. The price, we're happy with that price. Who do you have as your number 2 stack? Is it the Twins?
No, it's definitely not the Twins. I think the Twins are
Oh,
fine. Price,
okay.
I mean, as far as price goes, I think they look good, but I think the Red Sox look better than the Twins here. Our top stack tool has them second overall. Ownership isn't really there. Boston looks really good. They're also expensive, so hard to fully stack them, but I think the upside on them is big time. And then for me, number 3 is Oakland. I like Oakland a lot here on the road against against an opener, and then Jose Urania. Urania's been better than I expected this season, but still a guy I want to pick on. And Oakland's hot right now. They're not getting ownership. Texas bullpen stinks. I like the A's quite a bit here.
I'm okay. So would you go with the A's more as like a complimentary stack, or would you make them a featured stack?
Either or.
Right. Does it bother you that they have been very cold over the last 30 days?
The A's?
Yeah.
I
I'm looking
mean,
at the 30-day sample size, not the last week, 30 days. Is it
yeah.
smoke and mirrors? Is it luck?
I mean, I'm sure it's a combination of all of that, but it's more about the matchup they're in against Urania. I mean, you look at a guy, and again, a week, a month, they're both small sample sizes. Lawrence Butler has 19 plus fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games. Rooker has double-digit fantasy points in 4 straight. Like, they're not cold right now, in my opinion. Maybe it's a little bit smoke and mirrors what they're doing in the last week, but I certainly wouldn't call them cold.
Yeah. I'm a little sad I didn't call them out. I should have thought about them, because my second stack is the Twins, and suddenly I have buyer's remorse as I'm looking at the 29 added carry the 29 runs in their last 4 games. It's pretty good Twins. They did come off a series there in Cincinnati where they scored 23 runs in 3 games, but they got 9 against Texas on Friday, just 2 last night. My case for the Twins is mostly going against Yariel Rodriguez, who has allowed 15 runs in his last 14 and a third innings. He does have a 4.6 xFIP, but which is expected fielding independent pitching. So that's like neutralizing everything along with defense and some other park factors. Fielding independent pitching, he still has a 6.8, which is high, but a 9.4 ERA. He does have 5 home runs, that's why the xFIP is a little lower and the FIP is higher, but he is no bueno. If we look at the Twins, of course, we don't have, and this is important to remember, we do not have Carlos Correa. We do not have Buxton. Obviously, those guys are hurt. You've got Royce Lewis batting 6th today. So I think that's probably getting Wallner and Larnach. Larnach is more of a pinch hit risk than Wallner, but they both are a little risky if a lefty comes in. Where this kind of falls apart is there's 3 rested lefties for Toronto. So if you're going with someone like Wallner, he's going to get 2 at-bats probably, and then he could be gone. And that makes it a little tough to trust. But Lewis, Jeffers, Jose Miranda are there. You've got Max Kepler, who is slumping this year. But he's still one of my faves, but he's back down batting 7. But I like the way you can put this lineup together. I mean, it's heavy on the outfielders, but I do like the way it goes there. Those are my guys, but damn it, I'm looking at those A's.
I mean, it's not too late, and it's not like the Twins and A's have the exact same top stack percentage. So I think we're basically right in line here. A's are coming in a slightly lower owned, and they're on the road. So give me the A's, but I don't think liking the Twins more is crazy at all. I mean, based on, like you said, it's not like the A's are all of a sudden a good offense. Like, they just have high upside when they do get there, is the best way to put it. So yes. I wouldn't say they're hot right now by any means. I wouldn't say they're ice cold. Maybe to your sample size, they're more cold than hot. But I think the main point being what I just said, their upside when they get there is high. the Twins similar, but more pinch hit risk. I personally like the A's more, but I think they look pretty similar. Another team that I like here that is going to be really low owned, and I just might as well talk about him here, is Kansas City. Blanco isn't a guy like that I usually go out of my way to pick on, even though I don't really use him that much anymore. Was a little bit at the beginning of the year when he was a lot cheaper, but his underlying numbers continue to be a lot worse than his actual numbers. This Royals lineup is not bad today. Now, you can't play Yuli Gurriel making his MLB return in Houston today, but Tommy Pham leading off, Bobby Witt, in the same right smack priced in between Soto and Judge, just not going to be owned. I like Kansas City. I wish Blanco were getting more love, but at the end of the day, I think Kansas City can get there by themselves. Yeah, I'm going to be playing some Kansas City here.
When did Tommy Pham?
Yesterday. He got cut by the card. He got
because I knew because Walker came up and I saw that they released him. I didn't realize he got signed right away. I had kind of thought he would. I mean, you knew he was going to go to a contender. I thought he would end up in Arizona. Was my guess.
He was good for them last year.
Yeah, and I figured they would kind of put him in over Grichuk. And with Marte out, just maneuver some things around, give him another bat. But that's a good landing spot in Kansas City because, of course, Hunter Renfroe is the guy on the injured list. Plus, he can be the other side of the platoon for MJ Melendez. All right. And he is available in the player pool, it looks like.
He is. Gurriel is not.
Gurriel is not. Yeah. The remember me game for Yuli. I like it. I like it. I think that's going to hit this. Let's turn our attention to FanDuel for the stacks. So unless you have anything else for the full early slate here or the main
no. Slate. The one other thing I wanted to call out, and we just got an update actually. So yeah, it looks like the Yankees and Red Sox are both coming in very low owned. Compared to their top stack percentage. If I were playing 150 today, I'd be getting way over the field on those teams. In smaller field stuff, I'd still think those teams are going to get the ownership, along with the Cubs. There's a bunch of good teams on this slate, so should be a fun one.
All right, so looking at the Rockies and Baltimore, this is for FanDuel only because, of course, as Chat mentioned, that is going to change the top stacks tool here. So you have Zach Eflin going for the Orioles, obviously an adequate pitcher. Right around league average strikeouts, less this year, good control, fringy when it comes to power. The power usually arrives when he is not getting his ground balls. His ground balls are in the mid 40s, which is solid. Not quite an elite at that category, but well above most pitchers. So that can contribute to limiting crooked numbers. So that's the one thing you say against the Colorado side. When you look to Baltimore, they get a matchup against Cal Quantrill. Quantrill allows a lot of power. He does not strike out very many people, and he has a horrid 48% hard contact rate this season. It was about 45 last year. So that can be exciting when you're going against the team that leads the league in total bases, is top 3 in home runs and runs. So Gunnar Henderson, Ryan O'Hearn, Santander, Colton Cowser, those are the guys I'm interested in. I'm indifferent to Eloy Jimenez. I do like Cedric Mullins. Anything you want to mention on Coors? Let's go. I'm going to look up the top stacks tool here for FanDuel as well.
I mean, Baltimore just looks so good here against Ty Block and Coors. They haven't gotten there the first 2 games, but
it's not going to be Quantrill?
Oh, I'm seeing Ty Block in our tools, but you're right. I did see Quantrill. Hold on.
There was a screen.
I'm seeing Ty Block now.
Okay.
So even better spot for Baltimore.
All right, reverse that. I'm okay with Eloy. So I prefer him over Cedric Mullins, and Adley Rutschman is definitely in play since it is a lefty on the mound. I'm just looking here. Rockies to select the contract of Ty Block. All right. When some of the stuff was posted, they may just not have done that official transaction yet since a game was later in the afternoon. So that's not totally surprising that it's a little bit different, but enough things here are saying that it is Ty Block. Says was going to be Cal Quantrill. Block is going to be inserted in front of him. So there you go. So yes, still doesn't changes our outcome just ever so slightly with the righties now being more intriguing than the lefties, but Rushman is better from the right side of the plate. Santander's good from both sides of the plate. So we're okay on that. But they being the Rockies, they being Baltimore, has a 20% chance of being a top stack today on FanDuel. Yesterday and Friday, there was a few more teams. Well, not last night, but there was a couple more teams in play on Friday. Combined, Baltimore and Colorado were having a 25% chance of being the top stack of the night. They still have the same, but now it's incredibly slanted towards Baltimore. Before it was like 15-10 on Friday and yesterday. So that is key. The Yankees are coming in second with 10.4%. Boston is third. And then we get the Twins and the Oakland Athletics. They become very contrarian on FanDuel. But for what we talked about them with on DraftKings, they're very much in play on FanDuel. Oakland is actually the top value stack for those wondering at home, tied with St. Louis. And I'd rather take Oakland because I don't want to go against Mr. Cortez. So that is your blue site content. Quickly to the afternoon slate, just a 3-gamer. That was 4 games last weekend. It's 3 games this weekend. You've got kind of, again, must be an opener situation there in Miami. It's Darren McCaughan. I don't have any interest in him. In Anaheim, you're getting Caden, I'm assuming it's pronounced Dana. He is making the jump from AA to start tonight.
He's their top pitching prospect.
Yes. So the interesting thing about, and this is from an article I was reading this morning, they tend to not, this is an organizational decision. They launch a lot of pitchers from AA to the majors. They don't put them in Salt Lake in the PCL. They tend to, when they send them back down to the minors, they put them in Salt Lake, but they usually skip AAA. So that was an interesting one. But they said Caden Dana does have a chance to stick in the rotation for the rest of the season. So he is a little bit more intriguing today. And then Justin Robleski, stack against him. He's been dancing up and down between the majors and the minors. His last 3 starts in the minors, he has something like 13 walks in 15 innings. His strikeouts are still there, but you don't like to see that. He was a fringy type prospect. He'd be like a number 5 starter on most teams or a long reliever. LA, of course, various people are getting dinged up, so they're kind of filling in their 5th starter there. It's his turn today. When you're going against Arizona, even without Ketel Marte and Christian Walker, this team sets up very, very well against lefties. Even Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll has put up some sick numbers over the last 30 days. Last night, he had an inside the park home run. We kind of mentioned that at the top of the show. Matt messaged me and is like, Carroll with the home run. It's like, oh, wow, that was happening. So I went and watched it. Oh, my God. He was basically on second base when the ball came down and hit the ground. That was just amazing. A stand-up inside the park home run.
He's fast.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. T. McVie and I were messaging. I'm like, that was like an Olympic sprint. This wasn't your normal Little League, somebody drops the ball, there's an overthrow or whatever inside the park home run. It was impressive. It was impressive. But you got him, you got Lourdes Gurriel, who's outstanding, Grichuk, Jake McCarthy, who has the green light to go. He at least makes contact against lefties. Eugenio Suarez can still get it done against mediocre lefties. So I really like Arizona as the stack here. We are not going to be alone, but I think more players are going to go towards the Mariners with that 5 implied run total, or San Francisco with the 4.9, whereas you have Arizona with just 4.6. So 6 teams in play. It's not like anybody's going to be overlooked, but I would make my stand with Arizona on the afternoon slate. Logan Webb is your pitcher of choice, probably followed by Bryce.
Yeah, I'll probably make my stand on San Francisco here, but I'm with you. Like, it doesn't even seem like one team is pulling away that hard, except for the Mariners. And I've used the Mariners a bunch in spots like this. This is actually, I think, the third time they faced the Angels with a guy making his debut this year. First two, they went off a couple days ago on Friday night. They were big and a big night for me. And then earlier in the year, they did the same thing. They're just going to be too owned for me. So I'm going to pivot to San Francisco. They've been just god awful, but always like them better in this park during the day. And McCawkin is not someone I'm afraid to pick on. So I think my stand would be San Francisco. And yeah, pitching wise, Logan Webb is he looks like the best pitcher on the entire day today over Cease, over anyone else on the main slate. And then, I think you're right. It's probably Bryce Miller. I don't think you're crazy to play Brandon Pfaadt, though. Tough matchup, obviously, but, just these Seattle pitchers on the road aren't the same.
Fair points. From Comment God says, what are your favorite stacks for the 3-game late slate on DraftKings? So Matt has said San Francisco. I have said Arizona. Well, let's talk about the top stacks tool. They say Seattle. Seattle, 27% chance of being the top stack on the 3-game afternoon slate. You've got the Dodgers coming in next at 21%, Arizona at 18, San Francisco at 16. Then you got the Angels at 12, Miami at 7. So it's kind of a.
I don't even think playing this Caden Dana is crazy at all. Like, he leads all AA pitchers in strikeouts this year. He's a righty against Seattle. Need I say more?
That works for me. That works for me. Comment God. There you go. There you go. He says he's on a delay. Just answered your question. Well, we thank you for the $2. We appreciate it. Goes a long way towards warming my miserly heart.
Oh, I will say, even if I play Dana, I think the best bat and the number one entire bat on the late slate is Julio Rodriguez. He is notoriously streaky, and he is locked in right now. I mean, he is on fire, and I want him if I'm playing the late slate.
It's just enough time to be good, so it doesn't matter, and they don't make the playoffs. Is that kind of what's happening?
They're still kind of live, but yeah, probably.
Yeah. Boy, I miss my days of Edgar Martinez. Good times. Good times. Those were that the Mariners 95 season, the 97 season, and I forget it was 2000 or 2001. That was so long ago. That was like their last best years were 2 decades ago, almost 3 decades ago. Horrid. Let's see. So I want to remind everybody about the promo code kickoff. For just $1, you get all stochastic NFL content for week 1. Everything. The tools, the sims, the lineup generator, you get it all. Test drive it, kick the tires, because then you got 17 more weeks of the regular season, the robust wild card weekend, the 4-gamer divisional round, and then you've got the conference championships. And then it's the Super Bowl. It's well worth it. Kick the tires. Maybe you'll get a nice little victory here to fund yourself. But it's $1. $1. I don't want to hear anybody bitching about, you guys never do any deals. Here it is. It's $1. Sign up now. You get it through Monday Night Football. Good times. Let's see. Home runs of the day for us, Matt.
All right, I'm going off the board because I always like to go off the board. Going to the guy who's really, really struggled in his new digs, but looks to be maybe snapping out of it. A guy who hasn't had a ton of success to the major league level, but has in the minors. Miguel Vargas taking Manaea Yard today. Not someone that was even in your head right now. I know that.
I wouldn't have even come close. You could have given me 100 guesses. I wouldn't have got there. Which, let's see, 10 teams, 9 play. Yeah, I would have guessed half the playing field and still not got there.
Yeah. So I mean,
Matt Wallner.
I like
Matt Wallner goes Yard. We'll go with that. Let's see. I think that's going to do it. Chat, you guys have anything you want to throw in there? Let's look at when Lawrence Butler There we go. Tristan Casas. Yeah, that as Matt had kind of called out, the Boston Red Sox are they're looking. They're looking.
And
like
I'll say this: if you don't
top.
like the Miguel Vargas call, the real player I'll say that I think is going to hit a homer is Bobby Witt.
Okay. My real player is Trevor Larnach.
Yeah, okay. So the Larnach-Wallner combo.
Larnach-Wallner, or you could reverse those. Wallner.
They've got so many guys, I feel like, with the same skill set between Larnach,
Miranda, Kirilloff,
Kepler, Kirilloff. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, good times. Good times. Miguel Sano, once upon a time.
Yeah.
Oh, yesterday was I think it was yesterday or the day before, the anniversary of the Kirby Puckett 6-for-6 game. 6-for-6, 2 home runs, and had he robbed somebody of a home run. It was a pretty impressive game back in 1987. All righty. We are going to slide on out of here, but it looks like tomorrow's featured slate, if I had to make a guess, they'll probably go at 6:40. That gives them a 6-game slate. There's a game at 2, a game at 3, 3 at 4, 2 in the 6 o'clock hour, 3 in the 7 o'clock hour, and 1 in the 8 o'clock hour. I could see the sites also going with just the 4 at 7 o'clock, but they've done a good job of reaching forward those 10 or 20 minutes to get those earlier games now that more and more teams have been going with that early start time. So fingers crossed they make it a slightly larger slate for those diehards still playing on Monday. 1987, that was before EMac played fantasy. That is true. That is true, but not before I was playing Stratomatic baseball and Stratomatic football, because, we didn't have video games really other than Pong and Atari. Atari 2600, classic times. That was before you. What was the first video game system?
I was born in 84, so
okay. So
I was around.
You were Nintendo NES was probably.
Yeah, Nintendo NES was like it still holds a special place for me. But that was like when I was young, like 5, 6. I remember it was like, so I have vague memories of like Atari, but Nintendo NES is like, and then all the ones after that.
Yeah, God, Excite Bike.
I still think an NES is the best system ever. It's got the most games. Obviously there's a lot of nostalgia baked into that, but that's just my opinion. That was once I could. Sega was good, but Sega was good. Started getting triggers and thumb joysticks. Yeah,
it's just too many things for me.
I like the simplicity yet the complexness of NES, like the simplicity of Mario, but also like knowing that there were ways, like the hidden keys that you could get in the games, like stuff like that. I love that.
Yeah, Megatron, wasn't that?
Yeah. Megatron. Even stuff like Paperboy.
Oh, Paperboy on the arcade stand-up version was actually fun. You had
I don't know if I ever played.
Break.
What? I vaguely remember that, but I mostly had an NES. It was fun on Game Boy even.
Yeah, good times. Good times. ColecoVision. Yeah, I remember that was the Atari counterpart when I was there. And then there was one game system. It had a green background, and I think it may have had its own little TV screen.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was not as overly popular, but I remember there was like Tank Zone or Battle Zone or something like that. Was a cool game. You could pretend you were in a tank or something. So
it's funny.
In any event, this was our last nostalgia, because there is no goofing around on NFL Sundays, because NFL Sundays are going to be jam-packed with 4 hours of shows covering everything for you guys. So enjoy one last leisurely stroll through the DFS world of MLB Sunday Baseball, because this is it for the Sunday contest. They're going to shrink next week, but that's okay, because we got NFL. With that, you guys can follow Matt on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt. You can find me at EMac DFS. And of course, it is stochastic_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.